Hey, JD here. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, please hit like, and please share it with others. And as you know, I do watchmaking as a hobby here. And I've got the, much loved Sonny Morehouse's much loved watch, which is the Elgin Convertible. So I've got an Elgin Convertible here. I'm going to strip this part down and then take out the mainspring because I want to be able to replace that mainspring with something better, which is a new mainspring. So I'm going to just see if I can take this apart. I'm a bit close to the camera right now, so I'm going to see if I can just not bump this camera too much. I doubt it. I'm likely going to bump it a lot. So stand by for camera bumping. I take the screws out and put them down. I think I need a new mat too, because my mat's getting a little dirty for all the things I was doing on it recently. And I mean watch repair work. So if you're thinking something else at all, which I hope you're not. And I need to get my little stick out because I use my stick to hold the plates down when I'm doing work. And let me get the stick out. This is the Bergeron very sticky stick. What is this thing? The number on this thing, it's a 7010. 7010 upside down. There you go. Bergeron 7010, and it's got a nice flat part to the stick here that you can use that for holding the plate down while you remove parts. I don't think you really want to remove parts without having secured the plate at least a little bit, right? Because it can cause a problem. I have to adjust the camera a little bit, just a bit. Hopefully that's enough of an adjustment, because I'm going to need to get at these screws here, and I got to get my head in there sometimes and do this work. This piece here it demands having me hold it. I don't want these screws to go flying. Come on, screw, come on out. Can the screw come out to play? That's the question. This ring, this retaining spring actually, the function of this I found out. This has I believe a piece missing, but it tucks in under here. And the function of this is to push this wheel, the ratchet wheel, up and have it match up with this center wheel here. See how that moves there? So it moves it up to match up with the center wheel for time setting. It's a pretty cool design, actually. So the mechanical engineers were not busy that week and said, let's do this. Now the idea behind this watch, as I've said in a previous video, is that you can take the stem here and move it to the 12 o'clock position, or you can run the watch at the with the stem at the 3 o'clock position in the Hunter configuration. And this just allows the user, or theoretically would allow the user to have either type of case, or allows the manufacturer to put in either type of a case. So this plate here just simply comes up a bit. Let me just get my fingers in here. I'm not wearing any protective finger hand gear right now because I'm not too concerned with it at the moment. It's going to be washed and cleaned off. Plus, I don't plan on selling this movement. This is my movement. It's not someone else's. So I would normally put the gloves on, my surgical gloves, if this was someone else's movement. So, but it's mine, and I'm just going to probably keep it on the shelf. I'm curious about it. You can't sell these darn things with a case because you can't get a hold of the case. That's what this looks like. And when they flip this over to work the other way, they take this gear here and pull this gear up, and I'll probably not be able to pull it up with one pair of tweezers, but if I get two tweezers out of the same gilt, same type, I can probably just work this gear up like that. There we go. And they would take this gear and just simply move it over here like that, and that would cause the winding mechanism, which goes in right here, to interact with this gear, because both sides here had the other gear that allows it to wind. So the other gear would be in fact the stem on the stem, or part of the stem, which is kind of cool. I didn't think it was cool initially. I just thought it was kind of, what the hell do they do here? So there's that gear there. And as you can see, there's stepped teeth on the bottom here, right there. And those stepped teeth match up with the stepped teeth on the winding mechanism here, the winding wheel here. And that allows this to be turned and wound, and the ratchet will only click one way as it turns, and this wheel turns this way, and then this will interact with the mainspring, because this is the this, I believe, is the it is the what is it called? I can't remember. It's been a long day. It's almost 3 o'clock right now. It is the thingamajobby doohickey for the mainspring. I hope there's a couple of guys I know out there that hopefully are listening today, because they get a kick out of me naming things like that. And I've been doing it my whole life, by the way. This didn't start recently. It started when I was around probably 14, because I got a math brain. I was issued from the Canadian military a math brain. He said, make sure you use it well and make sure you clean it and take it back. So there we go. That's all this stuff here. Just going to put this aside. And there is the mainspring barrel. And as you can see, there's this wheel right here that interfaces with the ratchet wheel. Let me get my book out. I'll tell you what those things are called. I have a slew of cameras that enables me to videotape this information for you folks. So this is the military, the TM9 1575 War Department Technical Manual on Pocket Watch Maintenance. And I know this book, if you can get a hold of one of these, this is an original book. They made a boatload of these things. And this book has got things like, alright, this book is the Ordnance and Maintenance, the TM9 1575 War Department Technical Manual, and it's for the ordnance and maintenance of watches, wrist, pocket, stop, and clocks. In that book, along with a lot of information on how to repair watches, it has this, which is an illustration of a pocket watch, typical watch movement, pocket watch movement, rear view. And here we have the part that was in the center over the mainspring that I showed you earlier, this part here. Well, that is the ratchet wheel that matches up with that. And then the other part here that you flip to either side of the watch is the crown wheel. So that's in this Elgin watch convertible, you take this from this side to this side, allowing you to move the stem, right? So that's that. And then the Elgin pocket watch has this raised up center wheel that for winding, and that's obviously not in here. So let me see if I can find the other gear here that's part of the stem. So the wheel that you see, or I showed you that the stem is right here, and this wheel that goes up, they just call this A, which is a pinion. That's all they're calling this, is a pinion. And that goes into the rest of a normal setting mechanism. So in this case, the pinion wheel here turns the crown wheel. In this case, it's not turning the crown wheel, right? It's turning the minute wheel, right, to wind the watch. So this turns, thereby turning this with a different gear here. I think it's like a crown gear or something. This is called a clutch wheel. And there's a teeth here that interface with this small wheel C here, which is the setting wheel, and that turns the minute wheel, right? In our case here in this watch, you only have this wheel here, and this wheel is going all the way to the crown wheel. And there's this center wheel I talked to you about briefly. It is unique to this movement. So enough theory for now. Let's get out this mainspring barrel. But before I start, a quick watch check. This is a San Martin, and this is coffee colored. I think it's the same as make as a Rolex of some sort, or the brother of Rolex, right? The Tudor watches. So this would be the kind of a Tudor Black Bay watch, but it's a San Martin. You can see on the dial here, and this is a fully. I love the look at the studs here on the watch here on the clasp or whatever being machined, and then the studs here along the links, and these are screw down links, and these ones are threaded right here, so you can see the last couple of links are threaded here and they're not threaded up here, and it was solid clasp here that meets, or solid end link here that meets the watch, and they've got like a Rolex or a Tudor kind of case back with no markings on it. So they did a very good job on this. I think this has got an S5000 movement in it, which is a pretty high-end movement. So this is a very beautiful watch. I picked this up a couple of years ago, and it's a sapphire crystal, and it's got non-reflective coating in the sapphire crystal, and it's just gorgeous. So have a look at that. That's a nice looking watch. It's a dive to 200, but I don't take these ones diving. I got uglier watches I dive with. So I love the clasps here. They make very good clasps, solid clasp, and they've got the San Martin logo on here. So a couple scratches on that, but other than that, it's a beautiful watch. That's my watch check. I should do a little video on this thing. If you want, let me know. Lucky I've got a whole whack of cameras in my studio here, and I'm able to flip cameras back and forth. So the good thing about the watches that I have here, the watchmaker's watches, is that I can very easily take the mainspring barrel out, and they designed them that way so you could replace the mainspring without taking the whole watch apart. So I think I can take it out. There you go. It was turning me into a liar. There's the hole here. You've got to keep an eye on that hole in the center there and make sure that hole is still round and it hasn't ovaled on you, because that can cause the mainspring to go off center, which causes interface with the other gears to be wrong. So take a look at that. There's a way you can close that hole with your staking set with a very small round stake if you needed to. So you could actually close that hole and then ream it out to smoothen it out to make it conform or make it more accurate. So here's the barrel. So let me see if I can take this off. So there's the barrel arbor, the name I forgot a few minutes ago, but that's the barrel arbor, and then it's the barrel cap. And to take off the barrel, you find a screwdriver that will fit nicely into the barrel cap, usually in the slice here. And I'm not sure if this is the right size. I might want to get a little bit smaller one so it fits comfortably. It's probably going to rub a bit onto the spring. Some people just push down to take it off, and this is what this little notch is for. This notch on the side is actually for removing the cap. Well, so I'm wrong. I looked at it with my Airy eyeglass, and this notch is the one that has got the T-spring sticking out of it. So it's this notch here that's going to remove that cap. So I can remove that with I think a very small screwdriver blade should be able to get in there. And you go in like this, and then just turn it, bend it a bit like that. And you're either going to do two things: break your screwdriver. Feels like it's going to snap my blade here. It's trying to come out. Get another blade here, a little tougher one here to get this thing out. It wants to give me a headache, I think. There we go. Once you've got it popped out, you just rub the screwdriver along the edge like that, and this should just come straight out. There we go. So that's it there, like that. And again, I always take a picture of the movement or the spring. So this spring looks like it just let go. So it doesn't look like it's broken. It just looks like it let go. So I may just have to kind of fix the spring so it grabs on again, because it looks like it's in nicely. So it shouldn't be. Yeah, just let go of the arbor. So I'm not sure if it was the past user that caused this or what. It's kind of a weird thing when the spring just lets go of the arbor like that. So to correct this, you don't even need to take the spring out to correct this. We just push this out. It doesn't look dirty or anything. It just looks like it's got a personality issue. I may be able to use one of my tools to actually reshape the center spring or the mainspring here. So let's get that tool and see if it works. See if I can do that. So here's the tool I use to do that with. So it has one end is just rounded, right? But this end here is curved. So there's a bowl kind of thing on this end. And the spring, so if you grab this this way like that and you push inward, it's going to make that spring curl inward. Now you don't want to curl it too much, and you want to start a little bit out from where the bend needs to be. The thing that you can do, and I've done it before, I've screwed this one up before, is that you can bend it just a bit too much, and then it actually puts a bend in the metal that's not recoverable. It takes the spring out of the metal and it puts a bend in that metal. I'm taking my watch off right now. And that bend basically screws the spring up. Now, I'm prepared for that to happen. It looks like this spring is pretty darn big compared to the barrel size. And the spring should be around 1/3 of the barrel size. And it looks like it's 2/3 of the barrel. It looks like about half of the barrel size, I guess. So you'd have to measure it again and see whether I'm right, wrong, or other. But so in this case, very carefully, if I get this tool in here like that, squeeze that in, and I very carefully press like this, and I got to be really careful not to press too hard, because it'll ruin that. And just move it over a bit and press it again. It's tempting to just give it a squeeze and see what happens. And do that again. I'm just kind of pumping the pliers here and moving them over as I pump the pliers. And I know when I get to the edge here, if I do it a bit too much at the edge, it's really weak. Where that hole is in the spring is very weak, so you don't want to do it there, because it definitely will screw that up. So I want to put a little bit of more of a bend over here on the side. And you can see how that has bent the spring inward a bit, right? And I'm going to go away from that just a bit more here. I'm really trying I'm kneading it, right? So you can see how that's moved over considerably. So now when I put this back in place, what's that diameter? So let me see if I can get this in the hole here properly, and look on the other side, and I look at how this thing is wrapped around. So now that's not loose anymore, which is nice. Now I can take a pair of vise here and grab this with the vise. So let me do that. So I grab one of my vices. I happen to have a sewing needle stuck in it now. And as I was moving it, the sewing needle dropped out and likely landed on my lap. There it is. I'm going to stand up and kill myself. So I just look at this vise and I say, okay, which way is open, which way is closed? So that's closing it like that's opening it this way. So grab it like that, put my finger on it so I can grab it. And I want to grab it deep here, so I've got the majority of this arbor like that. And there we go. And there it is there, so that's kind of nice. Now this would be turning in this direction. Now if I'm lucky, that hole will snap right in. Or if I'm not lucky, it won't. It's funny when you're doing videos like that, you're never really sure whether what you're doing is going to work when you're on camera. So I may have to turn this in just a bit for this to snap in. But I'm just trying to see where that notch ends up. Yeah, there's the notch right there. So this thing here would press in just a tad and grab that notch like that. Yeah, that would grab the notch like that. So I need to get that end piece, this piece here, turned ever so slightly. Oh, sorry, I'm off camera there, but I need to get the end piece turned ever so slightly. Yeah, this piece right on the end here, I need to get that turned inward so it catches it actually catches the notch here on the arbor. So So I can loosen that off and try that again. So let me just push that arbor out again, spill that out. So the very end here needs to turn ever so slightly. So I got to be really careful because I've done this before where you can ruin, because it's so weak on the end there, you can actually ruin that, right, by doing it, by not paying attention to the curve. So I'm going to go right on the end here and see if I can grab the majority of this thing and give it a little tiny bit of a turn. There, that was a bit of a turn there. I'm not sure if that's enough. That'll be enough. Don't know. And I'll put the arbor back in and grab it and turn it and see what happens. Feels a little tighter right now, but if I can just grab this with my hand here and turn that around. I'll turn it with the spring so it doesn't get in the way. And oh, there we go. It looks like it fell into the slot. Now there's still that little bit here that needs to turn in. So it's good right there. It just needs to go in. It needs to be a little bit tighter. Needs to be a little tiny bit tighter on the end there. I'm sorry I'm going off camera a bit. Right there. Now I can do that perhaps by grabbing the whole thing and turning that inward. So I get a bend perhaps right here is where I need to bend that, right? Sort of just before that, if I bend that there, maybe that'll squeeze it a bit better, right? Because it's kind of almost doing it. It's very close. Spill that out. So what I said was, if I go right about here, right, is that going to allow me to turn that in a bit? I really got to watch the way I'm doing that too, because I know this tool kind of wants to bend it more on the top than on the bottom, right? So that could cause an issue, but once I get the arbor in there, then it's not as much of an issue. Yeah, I get a bit more of a squeeze on there, I can tell. So now I've got to actually take a very small screwdriver and just lift the spring out of the way. Like that, and just get that mainspring arbor in there. Of course it's twisting out of the way. Oh, there we go. So now it's in there, and there we go. And that, my friends, looks like it might stay hitched. So I'm going to turn this now and see how successful I am. I'm going to grab it like this and just turn it, and it does catch. Excellent. Yeah, so that catches now, as you can see. So sorry about the camera work again, but there's some close-up. So there is it catching that arbor, and you can see it's got a good little blip, a good bit of a catch on there. And because I've got this out, I'm going to put a little oil on the spring, whether it needs it or not. So you'd normally, if I was servicing the watch, I would likely simply remove the mainspring and buy a new one for it, likely. But again, this is my watch, so I'm not servicing someone else's watch, so I'm not as concerned. So that's why I'm not as concerned. But you would normally do that. So I just going to grab one of my oilers here and put a bit of oil on the watch. And the oil that I'll put on that mainspring is, let me grab the oil container for a second and keep things live for you. It's not 9010, that's too light of an oil. It's HP 1300, so it's this stuff. It's this stuff right there. So it's synthetic HP or 9104 or 1300. So that's the oil I'm using. And it's usually red. So you may hear me refer to it as the red oil. So That's another Bugs Bunny reference, I think. Red Riding Hood. If you guys remember that scene where where Bugs Bunny was trying to convince the wolf to go chase somebody else. And he said, Red Riding Hood. So there I've got an oiler here that's bent. I think I had that bent on purpose. I reconditioned the oiler, so just take a little bit of the oil here and then spread it on the mainspring. That'll move around as the mainspring is wound, so there's no harm here at all. And then I have to line up the cap again and see if I can press that on. And while I have this out, I'm going to take the exact same oil, and this would be the top here. So this is going to go down on top of this, so I could actually put the oil on the inside of the cap like this. And that will help lubricate the arbor that's touching this cap, like that. So there we go. That's that. And don't touch the cap, mister. And I just have to simply line up the notch here. I need to get in a lot closer, but again, the camera work, right? Camera work. So I'll eyeball line it up like this, like that, and then let me just put things away so I don't make too much of a mess here. But I need to get my other Googles on here, my airy loop, and have a look inside here and see what I've got. Actually, that's lined up nicely. So you can see that is lined up very nicely here. So nothing is in the way. That's going down nicely. And if with any luck I can put enough pressure to close this cap. And if I don't have luck, I can just milk it in from the edge here. Come on, cap. There we go. I think that's in now. Yeah, that's in. And I think that notch is hooked. And after I do this, I usually take my tweezers and open them up just a bit, like that, and then just compress the edges here just to make sure I've got a good contact here. So I just do that on the cap to make sure that cap's all the way in. And then I'm going to end up actually putting this back in and then winding the watch. So before I put that in, though, I'm going to take a little piece of Rodico, and I'm going to actually Rodico the tip here like that, and Rodico this part here, and then I'm going to roll the gear on the Rodico, but I'm going to put some gloves on too. So I am going to wear some gloves today. Contrary to popular belief, the gloves are going on. You know, when they say the gloves are coming off, this is when the gloves are going on. I'm just going to keep recording here. So unprofessional of me, right? So there you go, nice pair of gloves. I'm going to Bugs Bunny the gloves, blow them up, because when I take them off, they go off backwards, which is nice because it keeps them clean. There we go. So now the gloves are off, folks. The gloves are off. So now I can hold the Rodico in here and just roll this, roll the wheels. And I always do this. All right, so that's done. Rolled the wheels. And now bring that movement over. And I would like to put a little tiny bit of oil on the base there. And again, I'll use the 1300 synth oil. And just put a little tiny bit of oil. Doesn't matter how much, actually, in this case. You don't have to have, it's not like when you're oiling your jewels. The precision doesn't need to be as much when you're oiling this here. And I'll just oil it a little bit like that, and then I'll use some Rodico to clean it up a bit. And so I don't get too much oil everywhere. I do need to get a nicer, cleaner piece of Rodico here, so just a little tiny dab on there. And then I want to place this back in like this. Hey, stop beeping. Like that. And then if I go backwards from how I assemble this watch, I'm going to be putting the bridge on first, I believe. Let me see. Let me grab that bridge. I want to make sure that this is in position, right? I could do a little bit of oiling here, which I will. So I want to put this in. Now, I had it on this side before, so I just think I'll keep it on this side, like that. And then a little bit of oil on there. And I can use a thicker oil for that. And that's thicker oil ends up being the yellow stuff. Now, I'm not sure if you want me to tell you what the yellow stuff is, but it's the yellow stuff. So so that's in place now. And I think I'm trying to get the order right here. Now I think I've got to put this in next. Yeah, I think I got to put this in next before anything else. Like that. So this goes down like this. And it sits down, hopefully. That sits down nicely. So this has got to interface with the winding mechanism. So I could turn this a little bit maybe, and that'll help. I'm not sure. No, that's not going to help. I need to make sure that's square with this, or else it won't the whole plate won't go down. So just move the camera up a bit here, because you're going to miss some of this when I'm talking, and the watch movements kind of moving into different places here. So what I'm doing here is I've got this little ratchet wheel here, and it's not lined up with the square part of the mainspring arbor, right? So I'd want to bring the ratchet out of the way like this, and then turn that wheel, right? So I could just use another like a tweezers or whatever to bring the ratchet out of the way while I turn this wheel here, and see if I can grab that wheel and turn it. There we go. And that then, there we go. So that allowed the whole thing to sit down, right? So that's it right there. So this little square part right there of the arbor had to fit into this wheel here. So I just had to make sure I took the click spring out of the way, or the click out of the way, and was able to put that down there like that. And then just see if I can get a more up top view again, like I did before. Uptown Girls, or something in the downtown world. Billy Joel. So I'll put this back now, and this wheel just goes right on top like that. And I've got to screw this in, right? So let me screw that in first, then I'll put the wheel back. But you know what? You don't screw that in until you have the other faceplate on, because there's only 2 screws that hold the whole darn thing together. So I do have to put that in like this. There we go. It falls in place there. This wheel here, and you can see how this wheel is cammed slightly. That's because it interfaces with the stem here, and the pinion, as they called it in that book, right? It might be called something else, but they call it the pinion. So I think that this wheel here, or this gear here, I believe that the end right here is broken. I think that it should have two little pieces of metal on the end, so I need to either find one of those or make one of those, one or the other. I think I'll end up having to make one, because I don't think I'll be able to find them. And there's a little rod right here, right? That rod pushes up when you pull out the setting lever, and it pushes this up, and this pushes the gear up. So that's how all that works. I made another video on that the other day, so if you want to go find that video, go for it. So I've got to put this back very carefully. And there's where it fits right there. So that goes like that, and I know there's a screw here for that somewhere. There it is there. It's a very small screw that I've got to put in here. If I get this down here and get deep and dirty, if I'm blocking anything, I apologize. I really need to concentrate to get the screw back in properly. There we go. So that screw is now in properly. Just looking how it's sitting. Now I'll tighten that up just a bit here. There we go. So that's in nicely. And now the upper plate should hold all that down. And then I can see if I can wind that mainspring. See how much luck I have. There we go. It's down nicely. And now I'm going to use my Bergeon stick here. Get my airy loop out of the way here while I do this. I want you all to talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this. Like what's that actor there? Talk amongst yourselves. It's New York City cab drivers. Talk amongst yourselves. That was Saturday Night Live, I think, with Dana Carvey, maybe? I think it was Dana Carvey. Anyway. Or was it not? Might have been. Yeah, no, I think it was Dana Carvey. I'm trying to remember. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, that's down nice and tight. I'm kind of tightening it, but I don't want to over tighten it or do something too bad here. So there we go. So that's done. That's in there. So now I should be able to wind this baby, and I might be able to get action on this. So to wind this, though, I have to pull the lever up, which should pull the gear up. I'm not really sure how well it'll do that. Or no, and actually, sorry, I apologize. In the winding configuration, this gear is down. In the hand setting configuration, this gear is up. So right now we're in the winding configuration, so we should be okay. I just have to get myself a winding key. All right, here I'm just winding it up to see if I can get this thing going after reassembly. And I think I can feel the pressure, so the mainspring is holding. I just don't think there's enough power here to get it going. It wants to go, right? You can see it just wanting to go. It's like, come on. Now, I don't recall, I'm going to have to look at my videos, but I don't recall if I had my video on to show the reassembly of the plate here. If I didn't, I apologize. Oh. So right here, I'm kind of at the end of the mainspring here. That's why it's running, but it's not running on its own accord here. So I think it just needs a cleaning. Needs a good, solid North American cleaning to get this thing going again. Anyway, that's good enough for now. A little bit of information on how to tighten the coil of the mainspring around the arbor on this video. And I'll have to let the power down on this eventually. And if I pull up on the setting mechanism, is it going to pull the wheel up? Hopefully. Yeah, you can see the wheel moving, but it may not be moving good enough to pull it right up into position to wind the watch. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. So now that pulling this out has caused this wheel to go up, and if I turn this, you'll see the middle gear turn. That's how that works. And when I push that down like that, that wheel drops down, and the interface with that center wheel or center gear is off. So that's how that works. So anyway, so that's pretty much it. This thing needs a big time cleaning to make it operate, but we won't do that today. So thanks a lot. I'm JD. Thanks for watching this video. This is my watch. Just wanted to let you know. I bought it, I think, for like 60 bucks on eBay, which I think is a good price for one of these because they're pretty rare movements. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.